So this process is called self-aligned process, and here the possibility of getting this overlap, there will be obvious definitely some overlap capacitance, because when we are doing this annealing, you know, impurities will diffuse towards in the below, means in every direction, right? So similarly it will go or to this side, at the same time impurities will try to also travel on this side laterally, right? So as a result there will be some, overlap capacitance, but this overlap capacitance you can control by controlling the temperature and the process. It's not depend on the alignment anymore, like we have discussed just now, right? So from this I hope that you have understood why the self-aligned technology gives us much more freedom in terms of aligning this gate with aligning the source drain with respect to gate. And here we have, you have also noticed the gate is being formed first, and then with respect to gates the source and drain has been formed, right? Okay, so the process steps are has been given here in much more detail, so please go through this. We have already discussed about these process steps, right? And there are also I have written some questions. Okay, please try to look into and try to find the solutions, or these are quite easy questions only. Try to find the answers for these questions, right? Okay. Now here, one interesting topic, but so far we have understood what the self-aligned MOSFET look like. But if you say B type of modern self-aligned, I'm not saying modern means very recent, because you know that below 45, from 45 nanometer technology, we don't use again this polysilicon gate, right? We have again come back to the metal gate, right? So this polysilicon gate is no longer being used, but if you say like some till, suppose above 40 means before we have switched to polysilicon gate, if you see those MOSFET where we have still used this polysilicon as a gate metal, then their structure would look something like this. Okay, here you can see the source and drain implant, which is N plus N plus source contact. This is drain contact, right? But this is gate, right? This is the polysilicon gate. It is also written here, polysilicon gate. This is the silicon dioxide, right? It is also written here. But here you can see, beside this source or this drain, we have these two small regions, and it has been denoted with N. So this is denoted with N plus. This is denoted with N. So that definitely means that this region is lightly doped compared to this source and drain, right? Lightly doped. So this two region, or this technique is called this LDD, or lightly doped drain structure, right? So this is called lightly doped drain structure, LDD. So why we need this LDD structure in MOSFETs? Okay, let us try to find it out. So what happens actually, one, when suppose we are considering a single transistor, single MOSFET transistor. Suppose we have grounded this, and we have connected with some VDS, with some VDD, right? And we are suppose increasing this VDD, we are changing this VDD. So when this VDD is becoming higher and higher, so the electric field between the source and drain is also becoming higher and higher, right? So and this when this electric field becomes higher, the velocity at which by which the electron is traveling from this source towards drain, that also increases, right? And that high velocity, this you can see from here, right? I'm just seeing from when this VDS is large, the electron from the source and drain accelerate in the channel and arrive at this drain at very high velocity. That is quite easy to understand. That means the electron gains the electron's kinetic energy becomes quite high, right? And this high energy is equivalent to the electrons at high temperature, right? So this high energy is equivalent to high temperature, and as they are equivalent, high kinetic energy of with a high temperature. So we can also say this electron as this hot electron. Okay, and the effect caused by this hot electron is are called this hot carrier effect. Okay, or if the carrier is electron, then it is a hot electron effect. right? And as their velocity is quite high, so what can happen when they are coming from, the source and traveling towards this drain side? It can actually penetrate or get trapped into this oxide. Okay, and during that process, it can actually shift the threshold voltage of this MOSFET. You understand my point? Right. So this is called the hot carrier effect or hot electron effect for NMOS. Right. So to prevent that, this particular design has been utilized. Why? Because this drain, and if you consider this body is always, this PN junction is always reverse bias, right? So and this is reverse bias, right? And this and for in any reverse bias PN junction, if you reduce the doping on this side, then what will happen? The electric field on this side also get reduced, right? So you can see here the doping reduces the reverse bias PN junction results, which results in reduction in this electric field between this PN junction. And as a result, you have to make some region where the doping concentration is a bit less. Now the question you might ask, then why not the entire region make lightly doped? Why we need then heavy doping at all? The answer is because when you are making an ohmic contact with some semiconductor, until and unless that semiconductor is heavily doped, you really don't get a good contact, means good ohmic contact with that. So what will be the effect of that? You can think of adding on parasitic resistance in series with this drain terminal. So that means some of the voltage is also getting, if this region was not sufficiently doped, then there will be some amount of voltage drop occurring due to the resistance offered by this lightly doped drain region, this particular region, if it is lightly doped, this region. Okay, but if you are planning to make the entire region lightly doped, in that case, right? So to avoid that, or to avoid this issue, we need to really make the maximum region this heavily doped. Only the small region, to prevent the hot electron effect, we have to make lightly doped. So that's why it is called the lightly doped drain region. Then you might ask, then why in this side? Why in the source side? Okay, to make it in the source side is really not that important, but we are making it because to simplify the process. It is quite difficult to make it in only on the on side, but it is actually easier to make this lightly doped region on both source side and drain side. Or in other way, MOSFET is also that way. Inter source and drain terminals are interchangeable. You can interchange the source and drain terminal, right? So I hope this gives you an idea why we need this LDD structure, right? Now let us also try to see that how this LDD structure can be made, means for the fabrication technique of this, right? How to fabricate this LDD structure MOSFET? That is not difficult. That is easy only. So we are starting, not starting from this P silicon, right? So P silicon was the starting semiconductor, right? That is number one. But after that, we have just now seen how to make this structure, right? And then make this N plus region, N plus region. This is the silicon dioxide gate oxide. This is the poly gate, right? We have seen up to this process. So from here, how to get this we already know, right? Right? Okay. If we already know the how to start from this P silicon wafer and make this structure, then it is fine. I have also written here. This is step E of self-aligned gate MOSFET with locus isolation that we have discussed in couple of pages back. Right, but here one thing you need to remember during implantation, when you form this N region, this implantation doses has to be low. So dose means during implantation, if you use high dose or heavy dose, then the doping concentration will also increase, right? So we don't want that to happen. So we use some light. We will make the implantation such that this region only it will form only N type. It's not very heavily doped. bit towards not 10 to the power 19 or higher than that, maybe 10 to the power 17 or 10 to the power 18 in that range. Fine. Okay, once this is done, then after that we cover the entire region with CVD, silicon dioxide. CVD means chemical vapor deposition. Okay, this is a particular technique by which you can deposit different oxides. So if you are planning to use CVD for depositing silicon dioxide, you can do. You can also use this CVD for depositing other oxide as well as some other material, right? But here our intention is only to deposit silicon dioxide. So we are using this chemical vapor deposition technique to deposit this silicon dioxide. One important feature of this CVD silicon dioxide is that the deposited silicon dioxide will be conformal. Conformal means the thickness of this silicon dioxide will be same everywhere. Right, that's what means this conformal. Fine. So once we have formed this conformal silicon dioxide, next step would be to etch this silicon dioxide. So you might be surprised then if you are etching it, then why in the first place we have deposited it. The reason why you are etching it, it will be clear to you just now. See that. See, we are etching, it will be a time-based etching, and to ensure that the etching happens only for this much thickness, okay, or this much thickness, okay. After that, the etching will stop, okay. So time-based etching. So now you think for this region. See, in this region, what is the thickness? This thickness is much higher, right? This thickness is much higher compared to the thickness here or here, right? So whenever this region will be getting etched, this region completely, even the top, even in the sides, there will be some region, some amount of silicon dioxide left like this, right? Got my point, right? This amount of silicon dioxide will be left from here and here, right? We are etching. Now, how are we etching this? We are using dry etching. So again, etching may be of two types. When you can use dry etching. At the same time, you can use wet etching. Wet etching, from the name itself, you are using basically the you have immersed your sample into some chemical, and in the chemical in the solution itself, that etching is forming on. The etching is forming. The etching process is carried out. Whereas for dry etching, it has been done in using some basically in a gaseous medium. Okay, you keep it inside some means reactive ion etching type of chamber, and there due to the etching means basically reactions and forming some volatile material, and to take out those volatile material right from there. That's basically etching is all about, right? So maybe we will discuss a little bit more about this etching separately, this separate processes later on, right? So, but remember that most of the etching that we use for our semiconductor fabrication process are dry etching, right? And they happen in gaseous phase, right? So I think you have understood why this region of silicon dioxide will be left out in this region, right? And this oxide is called the spacer layer, right? This region is called the spacer layer. And once you have formed the spacer layer, you are almost done. Then after that, what you have to do? You have to do again another implant of these pentavalent impurities to make this heavily doped regions, right? N plus regions. So see that now this region is bit type of covered with this spacer oxide. So here penetration of these pentavalent impurities will be difficult. So this region will left as lightly doped only, this region and this region. But this region was open, this region was open. So this region will form a heavily doped, that is the N plus region, right? So this region now becomes this N plus, right? This region now become N plus, right? and this region will remain with this N. You understand? So that's how basically we form this LDD structure. Now that is almost done. Next thing is that we have to take this source and drain contact from this source, from these two regions. That's all. Fine. So I hope it is clear to you how to form this, make this LDD structure, means LDD, this suppose in NMOS or PMOS having LDD structure. Right. Now, yeah, here let us briefly discuss about this different MOSFET isolation technique. So while discussing the MOSFET fabrication step, we have already come across this low cost, right? This low cost process. This is one of the isolation technique. So low cost stands for, I have already told at the time, local, LOC. This O for oxidation is for the silicon, local oxidation of silicon. Right. And why this isolation technique has been used, that is also clear to you. We have already discussed to isolate one MOSFET from neighboring MOSFET. Uh, that is the whole purpose of this MOSFET isolation. Right. Now, how this low cost technique has been means what is the actually what is this low cost technique is right all about, and how it has been used to form the structure like this. You recall this is the structure where this is the structure that we have used in one of our earlier case to start with, right? We have start from here and then fabricated the self-aligned NMOS, right? Now we will see how to get this structure from a p silicon wafer. So suppose we have a p silicon wafer. So let us draw this. This is that p silicon wafer starting with. So after that, what we will do? We will first do a very thin silicon dioxide layer has been grown. So again, maybe some dry oxidation to grow a very thin silicon dioxide layer. Then on top of which we deposit this silicon nitride layer. Si3N4 stands for silicon nitride. So first silicon dioxide, this is grown. Second one is deposited silicon nitride. Now what is the difference between grown and deposited? Grown means that suppose we have a silicon, we pass oxygen. This oxygen reacts with the silicon of this silicon wafer itself and form this silicon dioxide here. That is called this grown. Whereas you have this silicon, and suppose if you are using this CVD technique, and see in CVD technique, chemical vapor deposition, so you are using some chemical process, the chemical reactions are formed and silicon dioxide is being deposited on top of it. So here from silicon to silicon dioxide formation, in silicon dioxide silicon is there, right? This silicon is being consumed from the silicon wafer itself. However, to form this silicon dioxide, the silicon in this silicon dioxide will not be consumed from this silicon wafer, but it will be coming from the deposition technique itself, right? So you understand my point, right? So as a result, the thickness for, like, suppose if it during this process, when the silicon dioxide is formed, the thickness of the silicon layer gradually reduces, right? Because you are consuming the silicon to form the silicon dioxide, right? But here the silicon thickness will remain the same, because this silicon dioxide during this deposition, it is not consuming any silicon from here, right? So this is deposition. So I hope now, yeah, I was keep on using the term grown or growth and deposition, right? So I hope now it is clear to you how, what is the difference between this growth and deposition, right? So it is now the silicon nitride has been deposited. Then you use lithography and etch the silicon dioxide, suppose from this region. So this region silicon dioxide has been etched. This region silicon dioxide been etched. Silicon dioxide and silicon nitride has been etched. And suppose this region also it has been etched. Okay. So these dark regions are actually the etching region. So once if your silicon dioxide and silicon nitride has been etched from this region, you will actually get this structure. So this is the silicon wafer. Below that we have this pad oxide or thin silicon dioxide, on top of which you have silicon nitride. Then after that, what you do, this is the patterning. I have already discussed this. Then we do a thermal oxidation to grow a thick oxide. And remember, when we try to get a thick oxide, we use this wet oxidation, right? Because dry oxidation, oxide thickness becomes pretty thin, right? And in wet oxidation, you can really get a quite thick oxide. So you use wet oxidation to grow a thicker silicon dioxide, right? And then see, after this, when you try to do that oxidation or the growth of silicon dioxide, right? Then this particular region is already covered with silicon nitride. Oxygen cannot penetrate silicon nitride, so almost no formation of silicon dioxide will happen here. However, this region is exposed to exposed to oxygen and high temperature, right? And here the silicon dioxide will form. So you can see here the silicon dioxide is forming. Here also you can see the silicon dioxide is forming. Here also you can see the silicon dioxide is forming, right? But during this process, you see this the silicon dioxide, this silicon dioxide, will try to pull this silicon nitride up, little bit up from this region, right? Because oxygen is coming, right? Try to react in this region, right? And due to stress, it will try to pull this up, right? And you can see the structure is basically becoming like this, right? It is not actually type of this shape, right? Here it is thick oxide, okay, then it is thin oxide, then again thick oxide, right? It is not like this actually, but rather it is like this, right? Quite gradual, right? Okay. Now now you see the next process. From in the next step, we can remove this silicon nitride layer or etch this silicon dioxide layer, so the structure will form something like this. Now this is the quite thicker oxide, and this is basically actually the field oxide, right? So I think now you can reconnect what is this field oxide, thick oxide on top of which this metal lines can go, right? We make this oxide thick because we really don't want that this metal line, if it is carrying positive voltage, then no inversion channel should happen, right? Below here. Otherwise, the whole purpose of isolating the device, the device that will form here and the device that will form here is gone, right? Because then you have a connection between these two, right? To make sure this oxide has to be really pretty thick, right? So this is the active region. Okay, these two regions are called this active regions. Why it is called this active region? Because here in these two regions only we will form or make the transistor. You recall in a, some few slide back we have made the structure. This is gate, this is the source n plus, this is the drain, right? You recall. So this is the active region where the devices are formed, and this is the field oxide region. And this field oxide or this isolation between this device and you can think of another device here, right? This isolation has been done using the process called LOCOS, LOCOS. I hope now the LOCOS process is clear to you. But in this LOCOS process, there is a problem. So what is that problem? The problem is, I have already discussed that problem, but I have not mentioned that is a problem. See, the structure is not like this, right? You have expected the structure should be like this, but the structure is like this. Or in detail, if when you have etched this region, thin silicon dioxide, the like from here, right? The structure basically looks something like this. Isn't it? So you see now try to focus on this region. So this region, maybe I will try to draw it here. see this region, it looks, right? It is basically this region, right? So try to be little bit more, bit think like me. So if you think of a bird like this, right? A bird like this, then it basically looks like it is the beak of this bird, right? This region, right? Isn't it? So this issue is called this, this bird's beak problem. So you understand why this bird beaks problem is occurring, because the region of silicon dioxide which is covered with the silicon nitride due to, when the when the thick oxide is forming due to stress, this is also moved up, right? And it forms this this structure, and it is called this bird's beak problem. But the thing is that why it is a problem, why we are thinking that making a shape will really make a such this problem. Okay, why we really wanted the structure shape, the edges to be like this. Yeah, that would be, I think, not difficult to explain. See, you can think from here. See, uh, if the structure was like this, right? If this structure was like this as intended, then the spacing between these two is type of fixed, right? Now the thing is that now the structure is becoming like this and like this. Oh, why it is not writing? Oh, I think it just got crashed, and yeah, hopefully it has come back again. Okay, thanks a lot. So the structure, but now the structure is something like this, right? Like this. So see, if you wanted to make any structure here, it should be any device here, it should be like n plus, and this gate and all this. But obviously, due to this bird beaks problem, the area that has been reduced on this side, right? That is one side, but you might think, that is not going, probably not going to impact much, because it is only consuming the source and drain on this side, right? But you think from the other direction as well. You think from the Z direction. Here you have the width, right? So during in the width also, in the width direction also, right? It is, if you are thinking it only from this view, then it is not very correct. Try to think the top view of this. Huh? So how the top view will look like? Ah, it is not a right. Or maybe I will draw it here. The top view is like this, right? So you have everywhere this thick oxide, right? You have everywhere this thick oxide. So here everywhere it is thick oxide, and this is that active area or active region, right? So if this is the transistor, this total length, then this is the width. Then due to bird's beak problem, along the width, the area of the transistor will reduce, right? So you can see here it is already written that this encroachment, this due to this encroachment of this oxide in the active area, this causes problem for device dimensions with when the device dimension actually sinks, means for lower dimension devices. Clear? Okay. So if this part is clear, then let us also quickly discuss about the another type of isolation, which is called this shallow trench isolation technique, or this STI technique. Okay. So in this shallow trench isolation technique is basically preferred technique for submicron technology. Mostly after that, all the all the MOSFET has been used this particular shallow trench isolation technique. It is not difficult. It is quite easy only. So how to form the shallow trench isolation? See this, starting with silicon wafer, deposit silicon dioxide layer, then on top of it silicon nitride layer, then photoresist. So this photoresist is because we have to do the lithography, right? So this is the photoresist layer. So then do lithography and type of etching. So it will form this, open this region. Then use some dry etching technique to form, get and etch this silicon from this region, right? So Here we are now etching. Okay, after that we use this dry etching. Okay, to etch this silicon from this, because the other region is now covered. It is called the masking. So we have marks this region with this. So, and this during dry etching, as this region is covered with this three layers, so the etching can only happen in the exposed region, that is in this region, and it will form a structure like this. Then we have to form a very thin oxide, probably maybe thermal oxidation, and okay, dry oxidation, right? So do a thermal oxidation and form this thin oxide layer, which is also called this liner oxide. Hmm. Once you have this liner oxide, then deposit this in deposit a thick oxide, and during deposition you have to ensure that the thickness of this layer is actually much higher than the depth, the etching depth of silicon, right? Because otherwise it will not be covered the to entire this etched silicon part, right? So once you have this, then basically you can think of that you if you are forming some device in this region, and if this you are forming some device in this region, then these two devices are actually isolated by this silicon dioxide. This is deposited oxide, right? By this silicon dioxide, hmm? Isn't it? So once you have that, then you see that the top surface become quite non-planar, right? So we use a technique which is called the CMP, as written here. This chemical mechanical this planarization, or sometimes it's called this chemical mechanical polishing, right, or the CMP process. So it is basically you use some chemical substance and use some mechanical, means we both chemical and mechanical do a polishing just to make the total surface smooth. And when this up to this region has been etched, then you stop. So see the end product. End product is like this, for only for one STI, shallow trench isolation. So it basically forms like this. So if you try to understand the complete view, it is basically you can think of one more STI here. So this is one STI, this is one STI, and you are basically forming this N plus and this gate region, right? You understand, right? So you can also form this source drain on this side, source drain on this side. So this device is getting isolated from this device is isolated from this device by via this oxide layer, which has been formed by this STI, or shallow trench isolation process. So the details of this process are also been written here. Please have a look. We have already discussed it. Now, in the last class, so we have discussed, let me reduce the figure size so that it can cover within one page. So here, this is a schematic cross-sectional view of the CMOS with the interconnected structure of three metal layers. So in the last class, we have seen that fabrication step for an CMOS inverter, but our focus was a bit limited towards like the fabrication step. But today we have seen more details for individual PMOS or NMOS fabrication steps, right? Means whatever we have discussed, that is true for NMOS, at the same time what that is true for PMOS. And now if you can make PMOS and NMOS, obviously you can make CMOS or any other complicated device structure, a complicated logic structure, right? Right. So here, just to see that to start from this bottom of this pre-silicon substrate. So here obviously this STI or shallow trench isolation has been used, right, to isolate this neighboring devices, right? This is N channel MOSFET, right? This is N channel MOSFET or N MOSFET. This is P channel MOSFET or P MOSFET. So for N channel MOSFET, we have used though it was P silicon substrate was there, but even then also we have used additional P well, right? To we have formed additional P well here to make this NMOS, and obviously for this here we have to make an N well to form this PMOS. So we have formed that. Then this is N plus source, or this N plus source for this NMOS. This is type LDD structure. You can see this N plus and N is here, right? This is that spacer layer, right? You remember, because this is the spacer layer is required to form this. This is that in poly, and poly is become n plus, right, for NMOS. So this is n and this is n plus, right? Similarly, so here similarly it is p plus and this is p again. This is also LDD structure, right? And here the poly is been during forming of this p plus, it is doped with p plus region, right? Now here the source, this drain and the drain of this two MOSFET has to be shorted, right, for an inverter. So that has been done by creating this vias. So how that has been done, basically after that means once you have formed these two side by side, okay, then you deposit a thick layer of some oxide. Now, which oxide now you will use here? Preferably some oxide whose dielectric constant is low. Okay, so those oxides are called this low K dielectrics. Why we use low K dielectric? Because if you can think, if you are using two metal lines, right? And so these two metal lines, when they are connected, they basically form one capacitance, right? Right. And this capacitance depends on the area, depends on the epsilon of the material which is here. This is the epsilon material by the separation thickness, right? So suppose these two we cannot change, or we'll try to change, but still it is, you can see the capacitance also depend on this epsilon. So if you have choose some material whose epsilon is low, right, then this capacitance will also become lower. So that is the utility of using this low K dielectric, right? So remember that for MOSFET, modern MOSFET, below this gate metal, we use high K dielectric to increase the gate control, whereas to reduce or to increase the gate capacitance, whereas to reduce the capacitance between interconnect, we use this low K dielectric. Fine. Okay. So once you have formed this, then create this via. Via means nothing but you create some holes, okay, and deposit some metal, and that basically creates some contact like this. You can see from here, right? And these vias are connected with a metal line, which is generally made up with copper, right? These are basically copper metal lines, right? So these two are connected. So and here this is the source of this PMOS. This has to be given to the some VDD. So maybe it's the part of some circuit, right? And it has been connected up to here, right? Different metal lines. So you can see different metal lines are here. This is the metal line 1, this is the metal line 2, this is the metal line 3, right? These are the different metal lines. So in modern modern VLSI circuit, there might be, even higher, like even 6 to 7 metal lines would be there, like on top of another, because you have different layers of interconnects there, right? Because the circuits are quite complicated and so many transistors are there, right? With increasing complexity, you need to really increase the number of lines, metal lines, okay? And once you have this, so here only three lines are been metal lines have been shown. Then you have to passivate the entire thing with some material which actually protects this overall structure from outside atmosphere, particularly from this humidity and all this system. Even though finally we have everything has to be enclosed within some package, but this is the first level of defense for these devices, for this passivation, right? So I hope with this, how this MOSFET has been fabricated, and what are the little bit, what are the details, like why we are making the structure like this, why we need LDD structure, why we need isolation, what are the types of isolation, how we can make isolation, right? I hope these techniques are now clear to you, right? So if you have any doubt, please feel free to ask those doubt. Okay, thank you very much. I will share. I will share this handwritten thing with you.